On. All right.
Part two?
John, can you start with one thing?
Absolutely.
Because after all this, I hear a lot of chatter about, I can't eat it. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't look at this and say, I gotta have rolled oats. Why? I can't eat them. I gotta have broccoli with my eggs.
All right, guys. I'm glad you're all seated because I'm gonna blow your minds with something. If you eat everything under the sun around the clock, nonstop, you're not going to be super healthy and where you want to be with your body composition, right? So let me rephrase that. We have to have some kind of rules, regulations, and structure to what we eat if we want our body composition to move in the right direction. If that's news to you, I'm glad to break it to you, but we do have to have some rhyme and reason, some structure. But just like Joe said, if you look at this and go, oh my goodness, it doesn't say cannolis. Guys, you can have, you'll have a cannoli sometime between now and, in the future. But if your food pyramid looks like the base is pastries and above that is sodas and above that is, vodka, we're probably in a shaky place. We're probably got to start with some other things. If you don't have your own individual copy, we're printing off more of every single one. We use this as a template. We use this as a guide. This is not the end-all, be-all. So if you have a food allergy, if you have a religion, what am I thinking? What's the word I'm looking for? You're not able to eat something due to your religion, something along those lines. That's perfectly fine, right? This is a template. This is a guide. This is not written in stone. So the number one thing that most men and women struggle with is getting in an adequate amount of protein, right? So if you look at that blue column, we hear a lot, John, I don't know what to eat and I don't know how much to eat. You have a whole list of different proteins. Everything from seafood, you've got some dairy on there, you've got some beef, you've got some chicken, you've got all different things. If you are a vegetarian, anything along those lines, let me know because I do have a different one for you, so that's perfectly fine. But if you look, that is just telling you what that macronutrient is, right? It is protein. Everybody's sheet is going to be a little bit different based on your current weight, right? So if you weigh 135 pounds and you're sitting next to somebody that weighs 235 pounds and you look at their sheet, their serving size might be a little different than yours. So this is not like grade school where you look at your neighbor's paper and copy their stuff, right? Don't do that. Not that great. But if you look below, do you guys see those three little pie graphs? You notice that there's blue in every single one? So what we're trying to say is that at each meal, you should have some form of a protein, right? This system works, and it works really well. Amanda, how did you do when you started off with this?
Really good.
How have you done for the last 8 months?
Even better.
Phenomenal. Joe, when you started off with this, how did you do?
When I started off,
Yep.
like,
Yeah, when you were given this information, how'd it go? Horrible, easy, in the middle?
oh no, it was terribly hard.
Yeah.
I had to change everything.
Yeah.
But, okay, I wasn't eating Whoppers anymore, and
Yeah.
I wasn't eating Wendy's anymore, and I wasn't eating pizza anymore. So you have to modify things.
And,
if you want change,
You have to change.
kind of have to change.
Wild idea, right?
Alcohol, don't.
Yeah.
6 weeks. If you can't go without a beer for 6 weeks, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe you need another class.
And it's not that you can't ever have a drink again, but like I said, if your consumption of beverages is more alcohol based than H2O based, like Joe hinted, maybe we should have you at another meeting. So you see the blue, right? So we're looking for protein, and it also has serving sizes, right? So you see 6 ounces, you see a cup and a half, you see these different things. You see yellow, and on some of yours there may be nothing there as far as fat, right? And people go, oh my goodness, I can't have any fat. Negative. The fat is already worked into a lot of the foods that you have, right? Because even if you get lean beef, even if you get those things, there's still fat that naturally occurs in that. And again, this does not have to be the end-all, be-all. This is just a template to begin. I know a lot of people want to talk about intermittent fasting. We'll touch on that. You guys see the orange, right? The orange is carbohydrate. This is not the Atkins diet. This is not keto. You are recommended to have, if you look, carbohydrate with 2 out of your 3 meals, right? Have some oatmeal. Have some brown rice. It even says on there, I think it says, have a cup of pasta, right? But the issue with that is if you go to Bella Regina, it's not a cup of pasta. It's 7 cups of pasta, right? So understanding serving sizes is a big thing. And then last but not least, you have vegetables, right? You are being asked to eat vegetables. And you're being asked to eat vegetables on a regular basis. It is not breaking news. Go ahead.
Drum beats. What kind of beats are those?
Which ones?
I don't know.
The drum
beats.
Beets?
Yeah, B-E-A-T-S.
Oh, yeah, Beats by Dre. I was never awarded for my spelling, my grammar. So what you're looking at, guys, is a list of proteins, a list of carbohydrates, and a list of vegetables. Underneath that is a sample of what a day can and should look like. Hey, I have a small serving. Again, I have this would not be mine, right? This is 1.25. This is too light for me. Mine would be the 1.75. So my serving sizes will be larger than what's on here, right? And if I was 225, 250, my serving sizes will be larger than that. But you cannot go wrong by having a plate that looks something like this, right? So I'll give you guys a sample breakfast. Some egg whites. Make it easy, right? I used to post pictures of, I would do 5 days worth. I'd get a little, I think they're like a cup and a half Tupperware. And I would measure out egg whites. And I'd put it in there, right? There's my blue, there's my protein. And then I'd cram as much spinach in there as I can, right? So now I've got this Tupperware, it's got egg whites and it's got a whole bunch of spinach in it, right? And then what's the last piece? Carbohydrate. Brown rice. And I'll send you guys a picture of that. That'll be one of my videos, so I'll do that again. And I would make 5 of those. My breakfast for the entire week is done, and it's prepped in a matter of, it probably takes me 6 minutes to do that. I literally just line them up. I pretend like I'm a bartender, except I'm making my breakfast. And I pour egg whites, egg whites, egg whites, egg whites, egg whites, spinach, 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 spinach. And then I could do brown rice. I could either cook it beforehand or the little minute container, put it right on top. Those of you that have been members have seen that picture. That's an easy way to have breakfast done and prepped in 6 minutes. And guess what you have? Protein, vegetable, brown rice. John, I don't like brown rice. Okay, great. Make that oatmeal, right? But you can't have 4 cups of it. You have to stay within the allotted amounts, right? Because if you say, well, I did the right macronutrients, but my serving sizes were ridiculously enormous, then it won't work. Or you say, well, John said we could have carbohydrate and your breakfast is oatmeal, brown rice, and Ezekiel bread, right? Joe, you post that breakfast, you post a picture of your breakfast on a regular basis, and people are like, what kind of bread is that, right? They ask you that all the time. Ezekiel bread, right?
Frozen food section, you're not going to find it in the bread aisle. It comes frozen. You keep it in the refrigerator. It has no preservatives, so it will go bad if you leave it on your counter.
Hannaford has it. Where else?
Price
Grocer.
Chopper.
Bargain
Really
grocer,
cheap.
I was just gonna say. Very cheap there.
Right? So you see what we're saying is you can't just have a full carbohydrate breakfast. So if you're used to saying, oh, my breakfast is number one, maybe I don't have it, or if I do have breakfast, it's just carbohydrate, carbohydrate, carbohydrate. You're going to have a real hard time. You do need to sneak the protein in there. Yes, I love questions. This is where we always get lots of questions.
Okay.
I will pause here. I will stay, and I'm being dead completely serious, I'll stay until 4 o'clock. At 11:30, anybody that needs to dip out can see Jim. Jim, put your hand up nice and high. Jim will help you do an in-body before you go. If you want to do it Monday or Tuesday, perfectly fine, but you have to do it before Tuesday. If you want to get it done today, that's not a bad thing. Jim will help you out. Go ahead.
All right, the vegetables.
Yep.
I thought, and I don't know if this is, I see it's this size, right, on here it says. So I always thought that, say with Weight Watchers,
Yep.
they say you could have as many
Absolutely.
vegetables
Right.
as you want.
So if you look right below where it says fist size, I'll tell you, you can go absolutely crazy with vegetables. You will never meet anybody that is very, 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 very heavy and say, how did you get that way? And they say, you know what it was? The broccoli. You know what it was? It was that damn spinach. You got it. It was, you know what it was? It was those peas. That's not. So vegetables, go crazy. Go absolutely crazy with vegetables. Now, let's go to fruit, right? Fruit's a little different. Fruit has a little bit higher sugar content, so that's usually a question people ask. Fruit is on here. Smaller serving, right? You'll see it's in the carbohydrate aisle list. It's in the carbohydrate list. So make sure you stay within that. Green, if it's green and leafy, go to town. I challenge you. I challenge you to say, John, this is a hoax. I've gained 20 pounds because of the spinach. I want a spot in a documentary called I Gained All This Weight Because I Ate So Many Vegetables. It won't happen. It won't. And the nice thing about it is vegetables actually help you fill up, right? Jen, what's your go-to snack Snap peas. What did I just buy you the other day?
Raspberries.
Peppers. What did I buy? Peppers, right? Bell peppers, all these different things, right? If you're looking for things to graze on vegetables, right? Don't graze on piles and piles of like, nuts are good for you. Nuts are good for you, but they're calorically dense. So if you're crushing a bag of almonds a day, you're like, I don't know, I just seem to be gaining weight. Trade in the almonds for vegetables. You cannot go wrong with vegetables. It's like, again, think of all the things that you didn't want to eat as a child. I don't want to eat my vegetables. I don't want to eat this. Well, now as an adult, it's time to eat them, right? It will absolutely pay dividends.
But wouldn't carrots have more calories than the green leafy?
I wouldn't get too splitting too many hairs there.
Okay.
If you're having carrots with every single meal, maybe. But if you're like, hey, look, I've got some carrots, I'm gonna snack on them versus potato chips or sweets, take the carrots all day long. Take the carrots and run. I hope you turn into a bunny rabbit. So the gist of it, right? The gist of it is 3 meals a day, a protein with each meal, vegetables with each meal, and moderating the amount of carbohydrates. You guys, if you're like, I'm not adjusting my sleep, I don't care about sleep, and you don't exercise, and you're like, I don't give a rat's ass about mindset, but you take this and do this to 90% adherence, right? There's no perfect. You do this to 90% adherence for 6 weeks. You will do very well. You will. But the difference is motivation versus discipline, right? Motivation gets you guys started. The discipline of saying, why am I doing this, will carry you through 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, right? After a while, making better food choices is just what you do. It's like somebody that runs, somebody that comes to the gym. It's just what I do. It's an ingrained habit. I just do it. If it's not, it takes time. It takes repetition. That's how you learn anything, is repetition. So man, today I made a better food choice. Today I made another good food choice. I continue that. You're building repetitions. It's not looking for perfection, right? You do see in between there 2 squares. Brandon, put your hand up nice and high. Right? We have an amazing working relationship with the family that owns Nutrichop New Hartford. Brandon's here. He can chat with anybody after about protein, right? Whey protein. So one of the things is people think that if they drink a protein shake, they're going to end up looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's not the case, right? In fact, it's one of the few supplements that I actually tell people, if you have a hard time physically chewing and eating enough protein, get a whey protein supplement. You don't need to take 5 shakes a day. Absolutely not. You don't need 16 different pre-workouts. You don't need that stuff. If you're having a hard time getting a decent amount of protein into your system, whey protein, where you can just put it in a shaker bottle, is one of the things that I would recommend. So what does a day look like? I have my breakfast with limited carbohydrate, protein, and vegetable, right? Another easy one. I know Jen's tending to, I hear him crying over tending to the baby. Another easy one, John, I don't have time, or I don't like cooking breakfast in the morning. How about a shake, right? Going back to Brandon with a whey protein. Jennifer's done this for like the last 2 years. She takes V8 makes it. Brandon, you've seen her do it, right? It's this greens drink. It looks like death. It looks like death.
It's actually really good though.
But it actually is. It tastes great. It's a V8 greens drink. So guess what that does for you? Vegetable. She puts a scoop of protein in it, vanilla protein in it, and then she usually has a small serving of oatmeal. So her breakfast was made in a whopping 3 minutes. You put the microwave in the oatmeal, all the way around. Oatmeal in the microwave, and you make the shake, and you've got a vegetable, you've got a protein, and you've got that. Become routine and structured. If every day you're thinking, oh, I'm gonna make a new fancy breakfast and I'm gonna put a picture of it on Facebook or Instagram, don't. Make it simple. The simpler you can make it, the more likely you are to do it for the long haul, right? Like I said, one of the first things I'll send you guys will be that picture or the video of me doing the 5 days worth of egg whites, stuffing a handful of spinach, putting the top on it, and then just dropping an instant oatmeal packet on the top of it. My breakfast is prepped for 5 days, 6 days. Jennifer and I, one of the things we like to do is we like to go out to eat for breakfast. That's one of our favorite meals to go out to eat. Guess what I order when we go out to eat? A giant omelet with a bunch of vegetables, and usually you'll get a vat of oatmeal, and I'll have a small serving of the oatmeal, and it's the same thing that I had. You're just breeding you're breeding structure and routine into your daily habits, routines. Questions on this? And there should be some. Go ahead.
Just a quick question. I eat a lot of Balanced Chef.
Yep.
So the Balanced Chef for lunch, does everything that's in there fit into this?
80, 90%, right? So perfect example would be my favorite Balanced Chef meal. Brian's out of town. You'll be hearing from him a lot. Is the turkey meatloaf. I had it last night for dinner, right? So there's a serving size about a little bit bigger than my fist of turkey meatloaf. Guess what that just did for me? That just did my protein. There's peas with, I don't think they call them pearl onions, tiny little onions. And guess what that just did for me here? That just took over my vegetable. And then it's mashed cauliflower. Guess what? That could kind of blur the line of orange and green. I would take that, absolutely, especially if your normal lunch is, I don't have a plan, or I've skipped it, or I'm just gonna grab a slice, right? Don't worry about perfection. If you could get through, think of this like a report card. If you could get a B- to a B+ on this, that's golden. Now, if you're already in amazing shape, if you're already crushing it in every facet, and you want to be on the high honor roll, then absolutely. But don't freak out and be like, it wasn't perfect. Take a look today, over the next day or two, and say, okay, where am I with my sleep? Where am I with my nutrition? Where am I with exercise? And an honest self-assessment is the best way. And say, okay, great, I haven't worked out in 3 months, 3 years, 20 years. Great. My goal next week is to walk 2 weeks, or 2 days. If you're a member here and you say, all right, I've been working out on average 3 days a week, you know what? I'm going to throw in a bike ride on top of it, a 4th day. Awesome. Have an honest self-reflection where you are, and then say, okay, how do I make progress in these areas? And you're like, oh, John, I'm all out of ideas. Check your email box. I'm not going to flood it every 6 hours, but I'm going to email you on almost a daily basis with very short videos, right? Hey guys, here's 90 seconds on how to get out of a slump and beat yourself up on you got that cloud over your head today. The next day, hey guys, here's what you can do if you didn't get a chance to get into the gym today, or you don't belong to our gym. Hey guys, pleasure to see you. Here's what we can do tonight to make sure you get better sleep. I will give you as many tips, tricks, and things that we can do each Sunday. Myself, Brian, combination of us, will sit there and do a Facebook Live and ask questions. Hey, John, this week's been really good. It's been really bad. It is 11:31. I will stay as long as you guys would like to. Anybody that needs to step out, Jim still, where's Jim at?
I believe he's over.
He's probably pinching that baby. Baby crying. So if you do need to step out, Jim will get you on the InBody and take care of that. I'm going to go on as long as you guys want, and I'm going to chat about intermittent fasting because that's something that has become popular, something that I like and strongly enjoy. So kind of let anybody that needs to shuffle, and then we'll go into intermittent fasting. Yeah. Yep. Great question. I'm so excited to answer. I spilled my coffee. All right, so Karen had a great question. She said, when you're weighing and measuring the protein, are we going to consider the serving size? You weigh it before or after? Weigh it after. But at the end of the day, I'm be honest with you, the amount that you would lose in cooking it is going to be pretty negligible. You would, the amount difference, you could easily negate that with a handful of something along the way, right? So if you're weighing and measuring it before or after, I'll already take that. That's really, really good. If you want to really, really nitpick, you can weigh it after. But don't get hung up on that. Does that make sense? Yeah. So intermittent fasting. Who here's heard of it? Who here's tried it? Anybody? All right. So this is what I say when men and women ask me about it. If you eat, this is kind of how I started the whole nutrition thing. If you eat all day with no rules, no regulations, and you eat everything underneath the sun, and you do that for a long enough time, you get to be in a place where you're not really in a great shape, the health isn't there, the body composition is probably not where you want it to be. So what I say in layman's terms, intermittent fasting is we just start applying some time constraints, right? Think of it, intermittent fasting. Fasting by definition, longer fast would be days on end, right? You could do that down the road, you could look at that stuff. What I like about it is you squeeze the window, right? For example, for probably well over a year, I have started my eating between 11 and 1, right? And I've done the opposite. I've come down here at 4 a.m. and I've eaten at 4, eaten at 9, I've done the 6, 7 meals a day. I like intermittent fasting because it's simpler. It's easier for me, right? So what that means is I really didn't do any calorie reduction. I eat on average probably 22 to 2,500 calories a day. For me, that works great. It works really well. But I eat that in the window of 11 to 1 and probably 7 and 8, right? So some days it may only be 7 hours of eating. Some days it may be 9. A couple things that from just speaking from experience again, that I have seen is it allows me to avoid that dip after you eat. Even if you eat really healthy food, you still get a little bit of that dip where you feel a little tired, a little lethargic. So for me, I love getting up early and having nice, steady energy all day up until when I have that first meal, right? So I can prolong that little dip until mid-afternoon. Number 2, I don't have to necessarily worry about breakfast or breakfast foods. And if you think about it, look at the word breakfast, right? If you've never done it, or if you haven't looked at it in a while. Break, fast. Right? What is, by definition, what is it saying? Break the fast. Unfortunately, again, going back to the phone and TV, if we stay up super late till 11:30 midnight and we're just kind of grazing, and then we get up early because of work or we're coming to the gym at 5 or 6, the fast was only 7 hours. There was a really minimal fasting. There's a lot of science behind giving yourself longer stretches to digest, longer stretches of keeping your blood sugar from spiking and going all over the place, right? I like it for its simplicity. It allows me to think of less meals. I don't have to worry about having a breakfast ready to go at 5 a.m., right? A lot of times when I work with anybody on an individual basis, one of the first things I ask them is, do you like breakfast? Do you like eating that early? And sometimes they're like, no, not really. I'm good. Don't do it. Eat later in the day, right? But you have to keep in mind that if you've had a routine or a habit of having breakfast for the last 45 years, you might be like, oh my goodness, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. And the way I explain that is, if Mary walked through the door right now and she hasn't worked out in 20 years, she has not worked out in 20 years, and I have her do 5 air squats and jump rope for 30 seconds, Mary is going to be unbelievably sore. 5 air squats and 30 seconds of jump rope is going to borderline paralyze her. She hasn't worked out in 20 years. She's going to be so sore. But if she never comes back and she never works out again, she misses all of the value of exercising on a regular basis, right? So let's change that to fasting. If Mary walks through the door and she's had breakfast for 30 years, and I say, Mary, why don't we try something different? Let's shake it up, right? What you're doing has gotten you to where you are, and that's probably not where you love being. So why don't we try not eating until noon, and then finish eating by 7 or 8, right? Mary's going to go, oh my goodness, I was so hungry, I was about to eat my arm off. Understandable, right? She's hungry. That's okay to be hungry. But if she never is able to get past that and be okay with being hungry, just like being sore, she never gets to see the massive value of having these longer periods of time without eating. Does that make sense? That's kind of the analogy I try to use. It simplifies things. Now, can you still gain weight and can you still be off kilter while using intermittent fasting? Yeah, absolutely, right? But I say, okay, I call it the eating light. If my eating light goes on at noon, and I go to East Dynasty, and I shut it down. And then I'm like, you know what? I like the ice cream factory. I'm going there at 3 o'clock. And then I'm like, I really love Franco's. They got some good buffalo chicken pizza. And I have 5,000 calories in my smaller window. I still lose, right? At the end of the day, if you're trying to reduce body fat and you have a caloric surplus, I don't care if you do intermittent fasting. I don't care if you do keto. I don't care if you do paleo, right? If your caloric intake is way too high, it doesn't matter which program you follow. It's just not going to work, right? If you said, John, what is the end-all, be-all, best way to eat? What do you think is the best way to eat? Take that, what you have there, moderate protein, moderate to lower carbohydrate, lots of vegetables, with periods of some fasting in there, intermittent fasting, right? You don't need to be going 2 or 3 days, right? To me, that's what I've worked on over the last 8 years. It's worked really, really well for me. There's a lot of people that are doing that all over the world that it works for. If you think about it, fasting has been around with religions for a long time. And when they talk about it, they're also talking about longer duration of fasting, multiple day fast. What I'm talking about is just squeezing your windows in, right? So you're not, right? And by definition, let's talk about what I define as fasting. Right now, I would tell you I am in a fasted state. The only thing I've had to eat today, the only thing I've ingested today is black coffee, right? And if you really, really, really want to get crazy about it, technically that does break the fast. So,
or what about now with cream in the coffee?
Yes.
Would that really break?
That would break. Yep, absolutely.
So
black
it wouldn't matter if you
Yep.
had an egg or coffee with cream, you're breaking the fast.
Correct.
Okay.
So, and here's the thing: is don't even have to go the intermittent fasting route. I just know people have asked about it, and it's something that people wanted to talk about. You could say, look, John, I'm going to stick with my get up at 6:30 and have my breakfast, right? If your nutrition has been really off the charts, maybe on the wrong side, and you work on that, amazing. I do think there's a immense value in mixing in some intermittent fasting with that. I do think there's a lot of really, really good value with that. But you don't have to, right? Because if you come at this and say, well, I'm going to do intermittent fasting, and I'm going to do this and this and this, and I'm going to work out 6 days a week, it's too much. It's too much. Figure out where you are. And then the other thing is, are you going to be able to do it for a long period of time, right? That's why, who here's ever heard of keto, right? Keto diet, like 90% fat, 7% protein, 3% carbohydrate. It works if, again, caloric restriction is there. You can't be like, okay, I'm going to do keto and I'm going to have so much fat that I've got 6,000 calories. It won't work, right? But if you keep your calories where they need to be and you go a very high fat diet, it'll take body fat off you. It does work. But I have yet to see anybody do a sustained keto for more than 6 months to a year, ever. Then that's from everybody that I've known here. That's from I've yet to see it in person, right? It does work, but the sustainability to me seems very, very low. And the best way I'd like to explain it is this, right? If we were trying to build a fire, and guys, just so you know, I'll talk until 4 p.m. So at any point you guys are like, hey, look, I gotta get out of here, feel free to dip out. So the way I'd like to talk about keto is this. If we're building a fire, right? We're building a campfire, and it's slow. It's slow to burn, right? And the campfire represents body fat, right? And we want to burn more body fat. I'm like, this fire is so slow. And I got this 5-gallon jug of gas over here. Like, check this out. Rob, how do you make a fire really big, really fast? You throw some gas on it, right? Better step back. And it burns really, really fast for how long? Really quick, right? So the one or few times I tell people, looking at keto is maybe if you've been at a plateau, maybe if you haven't done anything, you use it to start. But if you say, yeah, for the next 10 years, I think I'm going to have a very, very high-fat diet and nothing else, I don't think it's very sustainable. So you have to have a plan where you say, okay, I'm going to throw the gasoline on the fire, but over here I have a bunch of smaller wood that leads to some larger logs, and then I can burn this fire all night long, right? So what I mean by that is something that looks like this, that you've seen and heard for 100 years. Eat more vegetables, lean proteins, keep your carbohydrate moderate, right? The intermittent fasting, I think, makes it simpler. So my go-to for, this is me, is 90% of the time, my nutrition looks like something off that chart. And I keep my eating on 90% of the days, the majority of the days, from noon to 8. Now, tomorrow morning, we're going to go to Jen's grandmother's. She's 90-something years old. You better believe I'm going to have breakfast with her. I'm not going to sit there and go, Nana, I'm fasted right now, and I just can't. No, I'm going to go there and have breakfast, right? And guess what? And I'll be perfectly fine, because Monday comes around, and guess what? I go right back to what I'm doing. So a lot of times men and women would be so obsessed with that they have to do it perfect every single day. That's the fastest way to fall off. It is. It really, really is. But for me, I look at it and say, I've been eating that way for probably 10 years. Actually, probably longer than 10 years. The fasting piece has been well over a year now, and I don't see any time in the near future for me to stop doing that, because my energy levels seem way more consistent, and it's allowed me to even drop a little bit more body fat, and I really, really like it. Right? What questions does anybody have on any of it? Let's go. We'll go in a nice order. I love it. I love questions.
So, breakfast.
Yep.
Which I've actually done this before,
Okay.
but I've broken it up.
Okay.
Do you recommend that, or do you actually want to consume the protein in the vegetable? 'Cause if you're having
That's
a
a
protein shake,
a
you're
great
not going
question.
to want to have a half a cup of brown rice.
Perfect. Great question. As long as you get it in, it's going to be what works best for you.
Okay.
Right? Because if I say, no, you should put the brown rice in the blender and blend it up in a protein shake, John, that looks like seawater. And then you don't do it, what good was that? Versus if you say, look, maybe, here's a scenario. Rob comes to the gym at 6 a.m. Maybe the first thing he has in the morning is a protein shake before he comes here, right? Or probably might not be the best idea. How about this? How about he comes to the gym, he has a protein shake on the way home, or when he first gets home. Just take care of his protein. But you're right, maybe he doesn't want to have brown rice and some of these other things with it. So maybe an hour later he has it. That's fine. He still accomplished it, and he broke it up a little bit. That's perfectly fine. Because the biggest thing is, what's going to get you to do it consistent, right? If I say, you need to do exactly as I do, it might not work for you, and then you get frustrated and go, it's that's the difficult thing, right? There's a general accepted idea of what's going to work, but you guys need to plug and play how to make it work for you. Because if you try to follow my exact routine, my exact regimen, it's not going to work. And just like if I try to follow yours. Great question. Any questions? We'll go right around the room, I think. Yes, ma'am.
If you are doing like a fasting, whatever, 11-7 or
Yep.
whatever, would you still do 2 protein shakes in that time? Like, is that too much?
I would. I don't adjust my caloric intake.
Okay.
I just eat it in a smaller window.
I found it's helped.
Now
past
you
couple
can,
days.
what it can also do is it can help you restrict food intake a little bit because you apply a little bit of discipline. Like I say, I just go red light, green light, like the old children's game. Green light, red light. You just do that with your eating. You say, look, it is whatever time I start at noon, and then I stop at 8. And if you missed a protein shake, you missed a protein shake. Now, we don't want to get into the slippery slope of massive caloric reduction where, I'm just making a number up. If on an average day you're having 900 calories, and then you're like, well, if my second shake is out of my window, and so is dinner, and so is lunch, and in 7 hours you've only had 400 calories, that's going to work for a real quick minute, and then stop, right? So there's like a golden window of enough calories that you're healthy and you're sustaining life functions, right? We need that. If we go way too high, we put on excess body fat. If we go way too low, that's not ideal either. So a lot of times men and women, I don't think a lot of times, but it goes in people's heads sometimes. Like, what if I just miss this? You know, if a slight caloric reduction is good, is a massive caloric reduction even better? No. So if you missed the second shake, I wouldn't be upset. If you missed both protein shakes and dinner and lunch, and all you had for 4 days in a row was a 200-calorie breakfast, yeah, then there's an issue. Good question. Yes, ma'am.
For me, like working on the road or whatever, so it's just a lot of things have to be cold.
Yep.
I want to do the intermittent fasting, and I've tried it like maybe the 10 and 6.
Yep.
So your obviously, if you're doing the noon, like you eat your breakfast at noon. Is it, I mean, how do you do your 3 meals like in that time? Because it gets later.
Beautiful.
That's how I kind of try to think.
So I usually exactly verbatim. What do I normally today's Saturday? So what will Monday look like for me? Come down here. I'll work for a little bit, and I'll probably have my first meal here. My breakfast will probably be a balanced chef meal. It'll be turkey meatloaf, peas, and cauliflower mash. That'll
It
be
doesn't
my.
have to be a breakfast. I mean,
No, yeah, it's okay. But right, I always say it. We've been, I don't want to say ingrained, but General Mills and Nabisco have done an amazing job of marketing what has to be accepted as breakfast. Your body knows no different than if you had salmon and spinach for breakfast. Your body knows no different. Just like your body doesn't know what day a Sunday is, what day a Tuesday is. Your body doesn't know that. Your body knows calories. Your body knows protein. Your body knows fat. Your body knows sugar. Your body knows these things. It doesn't know, wait a second, it's noon. I can't have that. But it's okay. So that's a good realization to have. It sounds bad. It doesn't really sound bad if you dig deep and think about it. I look at food as fuel 90% of the time. I don't look at food as entertainment or as a treat. I look at food as fuel the vast majority of the time. I want to be healthy. I own a facility that revolves around this. I need to be a good messenger, right? You guys probably wouldn't be sitting here if I was out of breath just talking to you. So the vast majority of the time, I do look at it as fuel. So I don't get too wrapped up around what I'm eating at what times. Go ahead.
The only other thing is I want to start because I find I fell off the wagon. Like when I emailed you, they were like, I have to exercise in the morning, but then I'm hungry after. So maybe, but I really do want to get into the habit of, like, I know you exercise in the morning.
Yeah.
You feel like you can make it to like 11
I
or
can
12
because I
without-
drink coffee.
Do you
or
drink
water.
the black coffee?
So
Yeah,
something,
black
a friend of mine sent me a study that they just did that actually showed there was more benefit to eating earlier, and I was going to mess around with it a little bit, to eating earlier and having the fasting later in the day, meaning that maybe you have breakfast at 8 or 9, and then you're done by 2 or 3, and then what they were saying is there's a lot of benefit to having a long stretch of time before you go to bed. But that's where a lot of people struggle. But if you're staying up till 10, 11, 12, so another reason why to maybe read a book, get your ass in bed, is then you're not fighting this urge of like, it's 10 o'clock, my favorite show's on, I need to be grazing. But I'll see if I can find it and send it. There was a study talking about there's more benefit to the opposite hours that I was doing. Like I said, I predominantly do middle of the day to evening. They were saying there was some study showing that, morning to mid-afternoon and then having a long stretch. Here's the best part. Do your own study. Be your
You know
own
when
study
you have to eat.
You
on
know
it.
when you're about ready
Yeah,
to pass
like
out,
11, I'm
it's
like, all right, I gotta eat something.
Yeah.
But between 10 and 11 is harder, but it isn't really that hard if you get doing something.
Once you get a routine.
Yeah.
It's just exactly. It's just like, hey, I haven't worked out in forever. All right, I'm going to work out. Oh my God, I'm dying. I can't do this. I'm dying. And then 2 weeks later, like, all right, I'm back in routine. I'm not dying. This is not too bad. When you change things up, yeah, it takes
Probably
a little.
need it for a couple like a week, and then we'll probably get better. and
Absolutely.
better.
Sir, question.
My biggest problem is just the times in which I'm able to eat.
Yeah.
For example, I go to work at 11:30 and I work until 8. So I don't take my lunch until 3:30.
3:30.
Okay. From 11:30 to 3:30 I get a break. In between that, I'm snacking. So
There's
and
nothing
then-
wrong with snacking as long it depends. I'm going to go lead to what are you snacking with?
Right.
If it's just kind of empty calories and nothing that's doing you any good, not to say it would be an easy switch, but maybe you say, okay, if I'm snacking on this, what is progress? So if you're snacking on chips, what's the next? Okay, maybe it's a piece of fruit, maybe it's some vegetables. What is going to be progress, right? Maybe you say, hey, look, okay, I'm going to be honest with myself. I'm snacking on chips 5 days a week while I work. All right, maybe I'm going to say every other day I'm going to go chips, fruit. You don't have to go 100% cold turkey, super aggressive and scorched earth and big. I'm never going to have a piece of potato chip ever again.
Right, but then when I get out of work
Yep.
at 8 o'clock, I'm hungry.
Okay.
And my wife's like, you can't eat before you go to bed because
Here's the thing: if you haven't eaten up till before that, I would tell you. I mean, again, you've got to kind of test and see how it goes.
Right.
But the two things are, like I say, food quality and food quantity.
now in between when I start and go to lunch, a protein shake will fill me up
Okay.
or hold me over. I'm asking you that.
You have to tell me. I don't know if a protein. I would recommend trying that. I don't know how satiated you'll be from having a protein shake, right? That'll be for you to kind of answer and say, okay, hey, that actually worked really well. And that's another thing is if you can have a shake with you instead of snacking on whatever you're snacking on, have that protein shake with you and just sip on that, right? So you're just trying to trade one thing for another. Again, there is no perfect, but if you can identify, all right, my snacking is probably a lot of calories added to my total that are not that great. Maybe that could be a protein shake. Maybe that could be some kind of vegetable. Maybe that could be, even, I said nuts were not the best, but if you're going to go from potato chips to nuts, I would say there's benefit to that. And then maybe over time to something less calorically dense. So it's just, what can you do better? What small changes can you do that lead you in the right
And do
direction?
you recommend like a Slim Fast drink?
I would tell you that gentleman right there in the green, I'm pretty sure that's probably what he's talking about, are the different brands of protein. We carry it here, and it's just like anything else, right? You could absolutely go up to Walmart right now and get a $7 jug of protein, and you could spend crazy amounts of money. I send everybody to NutriShop because, like I said, I know the family, I know Brandon very well, and that's what we carry here. I wouldn't go with the Slim Fast. I'm not a big fan of meal replacements because if you think about it, you want to be eating as much as you can. You don't want to be like on this all liquid diet, right? Unless your jaw is wired. I want to be eating 80%, and then if I need to supplement, right? Let's take the word supplement and break that down. You're adding to something. So a whey protein is a supplement. Are you adding that to your nutrition because you're deficient in that area, right? I wouldn't want to be like, all right, I had a protein shake for breakfast, I had a protein shake for lunch, and it's like shake. Because over the long term, that's probably not sustainable. It's probably not something you're going to do for 5, 10, 15 years, right? It might work in the short term and be like, oh, I'm doing great. Yeah, but then when you're tired of drinking shakes all the time, you go back, you haven't learned, like I said, it's like that fire mentality. I built up a fire, it's burning really bright because I'm drinking shakes all the time. And you're like, I'm getting tired of drinking everything, but you don't have anything to backfill the fire with a good, sound nutrition plan.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, So I like to come in here in the morning or run in the morning, and I'm just the idea of doing it on a completely empty stomach. Do you find that your workouts kind of took a hit maybe at
The
first?
only thing that I felt took a hit was strength work.
Strength.
Yep, absolutely. Other than that, I felt my aerobic output went through the roof. Like I would go. I've done everything fasted from jiu-jitsu to one rep max lifting to just conditioning and everything in between. And honest answer, yes. My strength work, definitely. So, but to me, I weigh it out and I say, okay, am I trying to be a professional weightlifter? No. Am I trying to be healthy? Yes. So would I take, 20 pounds off my back squat to say I'm a little bit leaner, my energy levels feel higher, which leads to more productivity? Yeah, I would say that for me that's a fair trade. On the other side, the plus side, when I started doing it, like I said, probably well over a year ago, is aerobic output just felt like over 2 weeks. And maybe the mental effect, I felt it, but I felt my aerobic output went through the roof. I felt like it was out of control.
Is it like a you say it's a cumulative thing? Like let's say we're doing this, we're going along great, and then we have a bad night. We're out with friends until like 11, and we're having,
Which happens. Yeah.
Are we back to square one then, or is it kind of?
I always do it off of the like you're saying. Would you start your clock at like 1 a.m.? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, like the games that we see that, like let's say we're doing this and we're dropping some weight off, and we have one bad night. It's not gonna take us back to the first day we did it. Okay. Yeah. Just, okay.
And this is the best way I try to have anybody do anything. This is why like 6 weeks is such a good block of time, because it's long enough to look at it and finish and say, no, we did some intermittent fasting for 6 good solid weeks. 90% of the time we were doing it and we felt amazing. Or 90% of the time we didn't feel all that amazing. We're go back to a little bit more of a structured, early AM breakfast snack, and that's okay. It's what is going to work really well for you and bring you to where you want to be. Right? That's why you can't say, Rob, intermittent fasting is the end all be all. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be the greatest thing ever. What if it doesn't work in your schedule, right? What if something's going on where you can't, So I have used it and I love it. I speak very, very highly of it for those reasons. Yeah, but like I said, the honest, yeah. If I was going to do a weightlifting competition, I probably wouldn't do intermittent fasting. Definitely not the day of, and maybe not in the days I'm going to train those lifts. So you could cherry pick a little bit, right? So it always depends on what is the big picture? What do I want from it? For me, health, longevity, high energy levels. That's what I'm chasing. I'd like to lift, but I'm not going to be upset if my deadlift is 335 instead of 355. Not a big deal to me. What else? All right, my friends. Blast. I only got to go 27 minutes over.
If she's on call, should she have to sleep in the guest room? Wake me?